Hey everyone, it's Melanie O'Kane with Yarn Mosaics, and today I'm introducing a new program called the Overlay Mosaic Crochet Written Pattern Generator. And this program does exactly what the name implies. It allows you to take an overlay mosaic crochet chart and turn it into a written pattern. So if you are someone who likes to have a written pattern along with a chart, or maybe you'd rather just work from the written pattern and not use the chart, or if you're a designer and you have created this great chart, but now you dread having to go through the process of making the written pattern, now you can do so with a couple of clicks. And also, if you have a written pattern, or excuse me, if you have a chart that you've purchased and it's probably going to be a PDF, and you really wish that you had a written pattern with that, in just a few minutes, I will walk you through how you can actually convert that into an Excel spreadsheet and then convert it into a written pattern. Okay. So without further ado, we're going to jump right in here and we're going to go over to this spreadsheet. And now you may not have something like this. You may be looking at just a PDF. So still, kind of watch what I'm doing here, because again, in a few minutes, I'm going to kind of walk you through how you can turn your PDF into a spreadsheet, and then from there you'll work it just like we're gonna do here. So you'll notice that this has a lot of extra stuff in it, and the border stitches and the stitch count and the title and all this extra stuff. For what we're doing, we just want the pattern. Okay, so I'm gonna highlight this, just the pattern, and you'll see here down by my cursor, you'll notice that it's telling me how many rows and how many columns I'm highlighting. And you're going to want to make a note of that because you'll need that information in just a second. So I can see that I have highlighted here 43 rows and 40 columns. And so I'm going to make a note of that. And now we have the pattern highlighted, so we're going to copy. Okay. And then we're going to go over to a blank worksheet. We're going to put our cursor here in A1, and we are going to paste that right in there. And again, this is probably going to look funny and stretched out and weird. Don't worry about that. That doesn't matter for what we're doing. And also yours is probably going to look a little different because I am pasting into a blank worksheet that I've been working with already. So again, yours is probably going to look a little different, but as long as it's a blank worksheet, you're fine. Okay, so I have the pattern pasted in here. And now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to save this, do a file save as. You're going to want to save this as a CSV. Okay, and that's important because that is what the Overlay Mosaic Crochet Written Pattern Generator uses, is a CSV. You are probably going to be starting your blank worksheet is probably going to be in this form here, the .xlsx extension. And so what you'll do is you'll come here to where it says Save as Type, and you'll click that, and then you're going to get a bunch of choices, and you're even going to get multiple CSV choices. Okay, but the one that you want, unless you're working with a Mac, which then I suspect you're going to want this one. But for the rest of us who use PCs, you're just going to want to choose the CSV here, comma delimited CSV. And you're going to want to give it a name, and I'm naming mine Test. So now I have Test .csv, and I am going to save it. And because I already have it saved, it's asking if I want to replace it, and I'm going to say yes. Okay, so now I have something called test.csv. You may have another name for yours, but as long as it has that .csv extension, you will be fine. So now we want to go to the Overlay Mosaic Crochet Written Pattern Generator. And if you purchase this on Etsy, you will get instructions on, how to access this and so on and so forth. So don't worry about that. And you'll see here that it has a spot for the video tutorial, and that's what I'm recording right now. So there's no link here yet, but there will be. As soon as I'm finished recording, I will put a link to this video here. So when you go to use it, you might need a little refresher, and you can just watch that quickly. And a little note to remind you that it needs to be a CSV file. Okay. So it's going to ask you to choose a file. So you're going to click that, and you are going to want to pick the CSV that you just saved. Mine is called test CSV. So I'm going to select that, and you can see here that it's been selected. And now is where you want to enter that information on the rows and columns. So I had 43 rows and 40 columns. And then when I click process, boom, there is your written pattern. Now on screen, or at least on my screen, it cuts some of these off and drops them down to a new line. So what I like to do is highlight all of this written pattern and copy, and then I paste it into Notepad, and then you can see where the rows begin and where they end. Now, one thing to note, well, a couple things actually. The nature of the beast and the way that I have written this program to do this, we're going to get some zeros in here. Here's a 0. Here's a 0. Here's a 0. I'm not quite sure exactly why it puts the zeros in here, but it does. And so, it's not a big deal because there's zeros, but, you're probably going to want to go in here and clean it up just a little bit. But in the scheme of things, this is a huge time saver. I know for me, I just really dread having to do the written pattern part because it's very tedious. And so now using this program, it's just so easy. But we do have some zeros, so you can just go in here and delete them, But you'll see, for instance, this row, it has a 0 DC, which is double crochet, or for us, it's the drop double crochet. So the DC is actually the drop double crochet, okay? But it has the 0 DC here at the beginning, and then it goes to 6 single crochets. Well, we know that this 0 doesn't mean anything. So this row actually starts with 6 single crochets. Same here. This row starts with 6 double crochets. We're just going to get rid of that 0. And there are some zeros, in other spots too. And believe me, I ran so many different scenarios to try to get this to actually work correctly, and I ended up with a version that puts some zeros in there, and I'm just going to go with it for now. Again, if I do decide to update this, I'll see if I can get the zeros out of there. But in the scheme of things, it's not a big deal. One thing that you want to take note of, though, is when you read this, you're going to want to read it like you read the chart, meaning you're going to want to read it from the bottom up, right to left. So if you're using this written pattern, you're going to want to go to the bottom, go down here to this first row and read it just like you would a chart. So 40 single crochets, and that's the end of that row. 40 single crochets, that's the end of that row. Then we come here. We have our little 0. Ignore that. That row starts with 3 double crochets, then 9 single crochets, then 5 double crochets, and so on and so forth. So just remember to read this like you will read a chart, from the bottom up, from right to left. Yeah, I think that's it. Now, I promised that I would tell you how to, if you have a chart that's a PDF form, what you can do is you can open that PDF using Adobe Reader. Now, that is a free program, and once you have that open in Adobe Reader, you can do where you click on File, and then it's going to give you an option to convert that PDF. And I think it gives you the choices of converting it to a spreadsheet or a Word document, and one other choice I think it is. You're going to want to convert that into an Excel spreadsheet, okay? And once that conversion is finished, you're going to want to take a look at that and just make sure that that conversion worked correctly, because sometimes those conversion processes can miss some things, okay? And then you're going to want to just go through the steps just like we did here, where you copy just the pattern part, you put it into a blank worksheet, you save it as a .csv document, then you use that with the online program. You put how many rows and how many columns, you click process, and you're going to get the written pattern as well. Okay, if you decide to purchase the program and you have a PDF and you're kind of stuck on how to convert it, just get a hold of me and I will walk you through the steps. Not a big deal. So I think that's it. Again, this will be for sale. Rights to access the program will be on Etsy. And if you have any questions, you can refer to this video, or you can get a hold of me and I'll do my best to walk you through the process. Okay, so I hope you enjoy this program, and thanks for listening.